I am extremely delighted, overjoyed to be part of this 10th edition of the TEDx Talks organized by NMIMSBangalore. The topic that I have chosen for today's deliberation is igniting the flame of continuous learning. I am going to take you through the Indian field of education 5000 years ago. I have been part of the Gurukul system, even though I had the modern education. I was completely involved in the Gurukul way of teaching. One of the greatest contributions of the Indian civilization to the entire world is in the field of education. As all of you are aware, 3000 years ago, people used to travel thousands of kilometers to come to the portals of the Indian soil to learn some of the advancements in metallurgy, in healthcare, and other disciplines in sciences. We were supposed to be one of the best in the world. For a period of time, we have lost that status. Now we are going to many other foreign universities to pursue our higher education. But 3000, 4000 years ago, the entire world was looking at India if they want to master in higher education. Now let me take you to what are the essential factors of the Indian system of education which made it so popular across the globe. First one is, we are not bothered about what you learn, we are bothered about how you learn. The art of learning was given the main focus in the Gurukul system. As you are all aware, Gurukul system is supposed to be one of the boldest experiments in the field of education. Living together, learning together is the essence of Gurukul system. So they focused on how to learn. The first point that a Gurukul gives you is liberal education. Liberal education does not mean you read lots of subjects both in science and humanities, but you focus on the essence of the learning process, the process of learning. You focus on that. Second thing that they focused was on cultivation of the mind and illumination of the intellect. Today, we are stuffing the student's mind with lot more of information. But in those days, they were not bothered about filling the minds of the students with information. They are only interested in tickling the curiosity of the students and cultivating the mind and illuminating the intellect. To give you an example, what is the meaning of cultivation of the mind and illumination of the intellect? If you want to master the language, first step is to learn the vocabulary. Imagine you have picked up 25,030 words in the English language. Will that help you to write one sentence correctly in English? No. If you want to write one sentence correctly in English, you need to learn grammar. Even if you master Wren and Martin and you have 25,000 words in your vocabulary, will you be able to write one poem like Keats or one drama like Shakespeare? If you attempt to write a comedy, it will result in a tragedy. Just this vocabulary and grammar will not help you to write one Keats poem or one Shakespearean comedy. Therefore, there is something which goes beyond this. This is precisely what they called as cultivation of the mind and illumination of the intellect. But then the question is, how do you develop this cultivation of the mind and illumination of the intellect? Not just filling the mind with information. Today in modern education, we focus only on rote learning and filling the minds of the students with information. In the olden days, they were focusing on developing the intellect to the sharpest level. That's what they did. Even though the ancient rishis were extremely good in their philosophical discourses, they were actually down to earth. Whatever I am going to talk today, it's in Taittiriya, which is 5000 years old. So the Rishi starts by asking the question to the students. We all have interaction with the external world only through 5 senses. When the baby is born, what is the first sense that is operational for the baby, for the just born baby? Can someone make an attempt? The Rishi says the first sense that helps the baby to interact with the external world is Sabda, hearing. That is the only sense that is developed for the baby. Imagine a 2-month-old baby. Aishwarya Rai comes and smiles at the baby, or you show 2000 rupee bundle notes to the baby is not excited. If the same Aishwarya Rai and 2000 bundle note is shown to you now, I know all of you will be excited. At that age, the baby understands only one thing, namely hearing. The order in which these five senses are developed, Rishi describes in the Upanishad. He says, first sense that is developed is Sabda, second one is the touch. Sabda is the first one, Sparsha is the next one, the touch. That's why when you cuddle the baby is able to enjoy it. Third one is Rupa. The baby will be able to see probably after 6 months. Retina is not fully developed. Then Rasa, the taste, it develops only when the baby is at 9 months old. That's why you do Annaprasanam at the age of 9 months or 1 year. Last one that is developed is Gandha, the smell. This is the order in which the five senses are developed. So the first sense that is developed at the time of birth itself for the baby is listening, hearing. Therefore the Rishi, when he is addressing the students, he says, develop the ability to listen. You must be able to hear. Actually, scientifically it is shown, if at the younger age, formative years, the baby is not trained to develop the hearing, then the entire life there is a disability in learning for the child. This none of us know. Most of the time, modern children, they have a disability to learn because when they were young, we have not developed the ability to hear. That we have not developed. So when the baby is young, the parents must be able to talk to the baby most of the time. We don't have time to talk to the babies. More and more you talk to the baby and develop the hearing ability, the child will become a fast learner. Because learning is happening only because of listening. Concentrated hearing is listening. You must be able to develop this. So after talking to the students about the importance of listening, the teacher looks at the teachers. The Rishi looks at the teachers and then tells them, if you want the students to become best listeners, you must become best speakers. Unless you are an effective speaker, how do you expect the students to be best listeners? Today, those of you who are teaching communication skills and soft skills focus on the listening skills. But none of us are focusing on the teacher's ability to speak effectively. How to speak effectively, that we are not focusing. We are only advising the children, the students, to become a good listener. But we are not telling the teacher how to be an effective speaker. So, the teacher moves on to how to become an effective speaker. Before coming to speech, again he says it is not the medium of communication which is important, not the content of communication which is important, the form of speech is more important. The form of speech is linked closely to the voice production. How do you create a voice? He focuses on that. Very, very interesting. In the voice production, there are 6 components. He calls it as 6 limbs of voice production. Varna, Swara, Matra, Balam, Sama, Sandanaha. There are 6 levels of voice production. I will try to translate it in English. Varna means quality of voice. Every one of us is born with a certain quality of voice. Rishi says, never ever attempt to change this. If you look at the musicians, every musician is gifted with a particular voice. M.S. Subbulakshmi is gifted with a voice, Jesudas is gifted with another voice, and Subbulakshmi is gifted with another voice, right? But they will never change their voice. They will always nurture their voice, they will never change. Most of the time, particularly the modern youth, you develop artificial accented American voice. Most of the time I have seen IT students, you pick up an artificial American voice to impress other people. Never do that. That's what Rishi says. God has given you a voice, stick to that voice, nurture that voice. That is Varna. Second one is Swara. Swara is the pitch. There is a pitch to which you can vibrate or modulate. In Carnatic music they say அஞ்சு கட்டையில் பாடுறது, ரெண்டு கட்டை. MD Ramanathan will sing at ரெண்டு கட்டை, MS Subrashmi will sing in அஞ்சு கட்டை. There is a range through which your voice vibrates. That is Swara. Everyone should know within what range my voice will vibrate. Third one is Matra. See, when we are speaking, there is a pause, there is a measure. So that has to be uniform throughout your speech. Most of the time you start speaking fast. When you are ending the sentence, it will become slow. When you are in the railway station or when you are in the flight, sometimes the pilot comes on the line and tries to give some information. It will go like this. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are flying at 45,000 feet above sea level. Outside temperature is minus 54 degrees. For your comfort, we are keeping at 25 degrees. In another 20 minutes, we will be able to land. You don't know what the fellow is saying. Even in railway platform, when they are giving the announcements, you don't know which train is coming in which platform, the sequence of the coaches, you will not be able to hear because they have not perfected what is voice production. None of us are trained to develop focus on voice production. I think our rishis are focusing on that. Balam is giving an emphasis. Where you should give the emphasis, particularly in the Sanskrit language, if we give an emphasis in a wrong way, the meaning itself will be completely distorted. Sama is modulation. When once you know the voice, when you know the pitch, you will have to modulate within that. You must have heard some speeches where there is no modulation. I don't want to mention name. Some of the earlier prime ministers in our country, used to speak in a monotonous voice. There will be no modulation. So modulation is important. Last one is Santana, the combination or conjunction of two words. I will focus more on this. This is about the language of speech. These are the 6 components of voice production. Next one. So what are the ingredients for flame of learning? If the relationship between the speaker and the listener is strong, deep and genuine communication happens. Most of the time when you are traveling, when you are talking to a neighbor in a train or in the flight, the communication will always be shallow because the relationship is shallow. When once the communication is strong, the relationship is strong, the communication will become effective. The intensity of communication depends upon the intensity of relationship. The Rishi gives 5 examples. He talks about earth and the heaven. When the earth and the heaven, they unite, what you see is the sky. The fire and sun, fire is the sacrificial rites that you perform, yajna, and the sun, the outcome is the rain. The teacher and the student, when they unite, knowledge comes out. When father and mother, they unite, progeny is created. When the lower lip and the upper lip, they join, the speech comes. Supposing the lower lip stays where it is, upper lip stays on the top, speech will not come. They will let it unite. This is what is known as Sandhi. Go to the next one. So, the Sandhi results in an outcome which is different from both the components of the Sandhi. Father and mother unite, what comes out of it is a child. Earth and heaven comes, what comes out of it is the sky, right? Therefore, he is saying there is an inducer for this union that is known as Santana. The difference between Sandhi and Santana, Sandhi is 2 objects are coming together, but there is an inducer for this union to take place, which is Santana. So, to take the example of a father and mother unite, there is an urge to unite. What is the nature of this urge? If this urge is only biological urge, then the quality of the child will be different. If the urge is through love and affection, then the child quality will be different. If the urge is to produce a human being who will be able to transform the entire universe, like the way Adi Shankara's parents prayed for a child who will be able to transform this universe, Adi Shankara was born. Therefore, the urge to unite is the strength of that relationship. If the relationship is strong, the quality of communication will also become strong, and that is why when you listen to somebody, grammatically the sentences may be correct, it doesn't have an impact on the audience. It will have an impact on the audience provided the teacher or the speaker is able to connect with the emotion of the audience or the emotion of the student. That's why in the Indian context, the Guru Shishya Parampara is always focused. Nowhere in the world this Guru Shishya Parampara is sanctified, is considered sacred. And that is a prayer that is given in our scriptures. Sahana Vavato, Sahano Gunapto, Sahaviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvina Vadidamastu, Mavid Vishavahe, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. This is a common prayer by the teacher and the student. They pray to God. We are walking towards the common objective of acquiring more and more knowledge. Therefore, let this relationship be strong. Let there be no dvesha amongst us. Whenever there is a dvesha, the quality of communication will get disrupted between the teacher and the student. Therefore, the essence of keeping the flame of continuous learning ignited and alive without getting extinguished or dimmed throughout our life is to preserve this sacred relationship between the student and the teacher. I think that is the essence of the uniqueness of the Gurukul model of India. I am sure that all the students and teachers here will be able to develop a unique connection between the two so that our learning will become deep, our knowledge will become very, very useful to the society. Thanks for the opportunity. Wish you all the best.